All right, let's go ahead and do this video too. This one is on printing errors. I think it's debugging. And you'll remember that debugging comes from the idea that, I mean, it is buggy, but when you hear this word debugging or bugs, it just means there's errors in the program. So I'm going to purposefully put a couple errors into this code, and then the idea is that you see if you can find them. So the assignment that I'm doing may look a little bit different, but the idea is the same, all right? So up here, of course, we're going to have a console.log, parentheses, and we needed to say something right here, okay? And then semicolon at the end after the close parentheses, and then we'll have another line of code here for console log, and then again it's going to say do you see the error or something like that, okay? Question mark, parentheses, semicolon. So this is kind of the way that the assignment starts, and the idea here is to find the errors. So we'll make ourselves a note. Let's see, find the errors. So right at the beginning, we should look whenever we have any errors or that there are errors to search character by character. Now, like I said in the last video, is you shouldn't continue doing code if on one line of code you have an error, which is why you should always put in a line of code, like in this case, what is line 4, you would put that in, run your program, make sure there's no errors, and once it shows up, then you can do line 5. But this one comes already set with lines 4 and 5, so we have to fix this ourselves. If there is an error, which on your program in Code.hs, when you run it, it's going to say, hey, there's an error on line 4. So you know you need to stay on line 4 and find the error. So we're going to do this character by character, as you should as well if you ever have any errors. And again, we're going to stick with line 4 for now. So first up, we have console, C-O-N-S-O-L-E, which is correct. And there should be a dot right there, dot L-O-G. That looks good. And again, right here I can see that the opening parentheses is also highlighted or underlined with the closing parentheses right there. That's a good thing to see. Okay, but now it goes straight into the message that we want to display, and we can see it's missing the opening set of quotation marks. And notice what happened right there. So look, if I take this away, it says say something right here. This is all in white, but as soon as I put that quotation marks in here, it says, oh, all of it is now inside the quotation marks, including at the very end the closing parentheses and also the semicolon that we put at the end of that line of code. And if we go next to this opening parentheses, notice before it was underlined, now it is no longer underlined because it's saying, hey, on this line of code, there's no closing parentheses to go with it. So that's because at the end of the text that we want to display, we should have a closing set of quotation marks there. Maybe a period right there. Or maybe a colon seems like it's more appropriate, all right? So console log, say something right here. Now if you're to run this though, what you're going to find is that there's an error, but now it's going to say, oh, the error is on line 5. So again, we've got to evaluate line 5 character by character, even though it may say something like, oh, there's a variable console log. Now that should tell you that it should be somewhere in here in console log and not in the message. Do you see the error, the question right there? So character by character, right? C-O-N-S-O-L-E, that's spelled correctly. Oh, it goes straight into log. Yes, it is missing that dot, so we're going to put that in there. And once again, if you do that, you'll see console. It's gonna. Mine is green, but yours will show up as soon as you fix it. It'll show up purple, and then the log is going to show up as that whatever bluish gray color. Okay. Now, if you run it again, even after fixing this dot right here on line 5, you're still going to get some errors because here it's saying, oh, you've got some variables here that are not defined. That's because we don't want them to be variables. We want them to be text. So it has the same error that we had on line 4 with the quotation marks. And so we're going to put those in, quotation mark. Now again, at the very end here, you see the parentheses and the semicolon go yellow for me, which is because that closing quotation mark, it was removed, or it wasn't there. Okay, now if you run this, it should work. And once it works, and you found the errors, again, you shouldn't change any of the wording on the assignment because it will mark it incorrect. but you can see the wording that I have is good for me, because I'm not doing this for credit. I'm just trying to demonstrate this for you guys, okay? So once you're finished with that, go ahead and run your program. Click on Submit and Continue. Remember, when you click on Submit and Continue, by the way, you should have complete, I think there were 3 parts to this assignment. You should have 3 or 4 green check marks. If you don't, if you have any red X's, you got to go back and fix it. It is possible that you may have to reload it through your history. So you just go in the top right corner where you see More, scroll down to where you see History, and then you can reset the code that way. But for now, this should be working. It's good, and we can get the credit for this assignment.